more intensely than that. I'm watching for the countdown.
Yes, I said it just like that.
Response was, we're having fun.
Watching for the countdown.
I just
I'm
didn't
still
realize it.
Are we
I didn't
on?
see the.
Oh
yeah,
we've
we're
been
on.
recording this whole time.
I did not see the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's okay. We're just gonna keep going because there's some
Did you think we were going to edit this out?
emotions. I know.
No, people like this part.
This is. They like when I see
Oh,
the
people.
funny stuff.
People is
The
quite
three,
vague.
the three that listen, at least 2 of them like
Hey,
this
leave
part.
a comment down in the comments.
Oh no! Don't do it. Please
Oh,
don't point
good.
below.
Are there comments?
No. Oh yeah. Well, you can ask questions.
Should we
to
do-
Spotify now.
What do you do? Like subscribe.
Subscribe here.
I want to thank all of our
Leave a
Patreon
comment over
subscribers for your support.
That's good.
Wait a second, man.
Hey,
That's great.
where's the link?
Does Patreon still exist?
It does.
Yeah, it's thriving.
It is. Bigger than it used to be, I think. But what were you gonna welcome us to?
Speaking of accessible,
I'm done. I did my part.
Oh,
Record.
he's out.
I did the intro. The rest is up to you guys.
All right.
Rest.
Oh man.
I don't do anything in the middle, so it's up to them.
Oh, okay. Scott, it's up to you. It's your turn.
Perfect.
We're talking about Christmas
It is Christmas.
and talking about Jesus.
It's. I have, and I think I know that Greg has some of the same feels, like the cliche. Rich probably like you like it, but like to do messages that are themed to the season you're in.
Oh, I don't know if I
You
love
haven't-
it, but I
You
like.
have never heard me talk about Christmas, have you?
I like tradition. I like some tradition. I think
You've
what
been
I
listening to
don't
Christmas
like.
music since July.
I hate Christmas.
Wow.
Oh.
And but here's the thing.
Well,
Whoa.
We're gonna edit that out.
Whoa.
For the listeners, it has nothing to do with what happened. Like Christmas is fine. I have negative emotion tied to it, which most likely
Got it.
is from trauma experienced right before Christmas 15
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
So, but I don't like Christmas music. I
Christmas is
we
not
don't
your jam.
decorate.
You don't decorate?
I don't decorate. Anna decorated the house.
Yeah.
It looks great. I don't decorate. No, I have one piece of decoration.
Do you not help?
I have a gnome. No, I don't. I don't care. I'm trying to care,
Yeah,
but
Mm,
it's good.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I had the same thing. No trauma needed.
That could be a good sticker.
Fits
No
really
trauma
well.
needed.
No trauma needed.
Oh, I love
Oh,
it.
Bitter.
Oh,
No
man.
trauma needed.
no trauma.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
That was
Yep.
very good.
Don't
Oh.
people like you? No trauma
No
needed.
Yeah.
trauma needed. Oh my goodness, that was good.
I have been trying really hard to like it because my wife likes it, and I want to like it for her sake.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you should.
I cannot.
All right.
Oh man.
They like her,
No trauma
so
needed.
that's fine. That's enough.
I think also, like, Rachel just likes to have something to celebrate.
I do. I do.
I just don't. I don't.
You don't want to celebrate.
I just want. I just. I don't.
Life is like a party. I mean,
I hope she was going to say a box of chocolates. She didn't.
I didn't. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, I've
couldn't
heard
say
it.
that.
I've heard what you're going through this week for your celebrations. That seems worth it.
It's gonna be fun. You know what? I gotta tell you, don't shake your head. No, that's against the rules. It's gonna be fun.
Oh, it's gonna be fun.
2 years
But this
ago,
week hasn't been fun.
no, it's been a lot. But 2 years ago, there was a series of music in the park events that happened in the summer, and like starting Memorial Day, I got like a pain, kind of like in my upper chest, like lung area,
remember that.
and it didn't
Yikes.
go away for 4 months.
Yeah.
4 months, and this time I feel strangely calm, which is good because I was
Wow. You call this is strangely calm.
Pain, you know, doesn't impact you as much.
Just
That's
for
true. That's true.
just for everybody else, because this is what came out of last year or 2 years ago. There's a quote that says, "If you love your life, you don't need holidays." That quote
Oh.
is by Greg Barber.
So,
that was a lot of laugh. I
stand
believe
by
you.
it still.
Uh,
I knew there was something in there.
man.
Unfortunately, I had to scroll pretty far back.
That's funny. That's really good. I like it.
Christmas.
We're over the next couple of weeks. We are looking at different aspects of the Christmas narrative in Matthew 1-2, Luke 1-2.
Different
Yeah.
character of Jesus.
The
Just
character
like who-
traits,
yeah,
who Jesus
he
is through how we
Yeah.
and understanding more about who Jesus is through
Yeah.
his birth narrative story. And we're going to ask people on Sunday to share a little bit about their own birth narrative, and I think the complexity of it is
Most don't remember, but they've probably been
No.
told a little
the
thing.
lore that surrounds
Yes,
their.
no, I understand. I just
He made a face.
it was,
so
a, it was a good moment.
But I think the thing that will be a good conversation to have out of that is, what are the things that are still, I think it's the word is reverberating. Like, what parts of your birth narrative are still bringing reverberation to your life today?
For sure.
And it's usually not, you would say, well, I was born in the summer, so I like summer. It's not things like that. But the family experience that you're born into has impact on who you are today.
Oh, Lord.
Lore.
I held my head up and bit the doctor on my first couple hours out.
I like it.
That makes sense.
My
Oh,
dad
I was
always said I
ripped.
smile. What did you
I
say?
held my head up. I
Oh,
was ripped.
His neck abs
Strong.
were.
Neck abs. were-
strong.
Oh, and
And he
broke
was
the hospital.
born with a full set of teeth.
My dad always said I smiled right away.
Did you
which
say you
I
went to
know is just
Costco in your
but-
first
No, I
hour?
said I
It's true.
broke a
I
hospital
smiled.
monitor. You know how they had one that they stuck on the baby's head to check vitals and stuff when birth was happening?
You born in the
I had
40s?
too much hair, and it
Oh,
got
okay.
caught and wrecked it.
Oh
It's
my
fine.
goodness. Hmm.
But
Lord!
yeah,
I like that.
Jesus being born into humble circumstances is quite remarkable in being Messiah, Savior, and his accessibility. Rachel and I were talking yesterday quite a bit about that. The difference. This isn't necessarily a other religions and Christianity thing, but it is really remarkable. Would be very. It stands out so much in following Jesus is that here God comes to earth not as a dictatorial, superpowered king authority, demanding expectations or demanding a way of life or demanding service, but rather he comes as a humble baby in the most humblest of circumstances to serve us, not to be ultimate to be served.
Yeah.
He comes to serve us. And I think the thing that, just to keep reiterating in our life and understanding of Christ, is that biblical narrative is not a story of humanity trying to get to God. It's biblical narrative is God's efforts to get to us. And that is ultimately like on full display in the birth narrative of Jesus, is that here he comes, not if he was born in a palace as a king, it would be he would be unreachable, but he came to reach to the least of us. So pretty beautiful.
I love it. I think too, like just the whole idea of how somebody would want to be treated if they were Messiah or if they were a king on earth or the president or like some kind of higher up power like that, or even just thinking of like we were talking a little just for a second, we were talking about like the political landscape at that time and like how people really did want to be treated when they were elevated, like just the Roman Empire or Nero who came after Jesus, or like how even like I was just reading some articles this morning about things happening in Syria and like when you're like a dictator and like how you want to be treated is so opposite of how Jesus came to the earth and how he asked us to be treated, how he asked to be treated, all those things. And it's, I feel like when I contrast it with how humanity normally acts, it kind of blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like,
The census that Mary and Joseph were dealing with to make their way to Bethlehem, the circumstance of his humble birth, was it stands in intentional contrast. So the census wasn't just to count people; it was about taxation to the Roman emperor.
Yeah.
The best way to up your taxes was to count everybody and make sure that they're paying what they're supposed to pay. And so, instead of Jesus coming in a situation where it was set up for him to receive everything from us, he's actually showing that he's coming kind of at the bowing underneath,
powerless. I mean,
powerless
for sure,
to this
powerless.
expectation of who is perceived as being full of power.
Yeah, like I mean, if you think there's nothing more powerless than being an infant, a baby. Like
Yeah.
you have everything is in someone else's control. What are
Yeah.
you smirking at?
But their family wasn't
No.
their family wasn't set up to their. This was not a moment showing that set up for their success. It was
Yeah.
showing that they were underneath the. They were serving somebody that was greater than that could care less about them.
Yeah.
And so we walk into that, and if you feel like God is a dictator, if Jesus is a dictator, always expecting more, demanding your perfection in order to have a relationship with you, I think it's good to hold on to the reality that we'll never quite measure up,
Right.
and eventually you give up, and maybe you'll try again. But the story and connection with Jesus is that he breaks that cycle of not being good enough by saying, "You're right. We collectively, we can't be good enough to have a relationship with God, but Jesus is here to serve us to bridge that gap." And it sounds cliche. Maybe it goes back to that whole conversation of hating the cliche, but now we have to fully realize that what we really do celebrate at Christmas is this Jesus serving us, building that connection to Christ, or that connection to God.
I was thinking about what you just said. Oh, it went in my head and it left immediately. Never mind. I have nothing to add.
Something about the cliche.
Well, it was a little bit about that. I think like we started this conversation talking about liking traditions and things like that, and like throwing the cliches away and things. But there's some traditions that we want to like, not just us, but like people want to be unique or different. And so it's like, I don't want to do the tradition. I'm just throw it out. But like some of these things that we're taught, like we don't want to just throw everything out just to throw it out. Like there's really important things. And I think in certain traditions and certain things, like even as we celebrate Advent, and it's like that, like isn't a tradition I grew up with, but like kind of seeing how it helps me center my focus on who Jesus is, and like thinking about hope. And like this week we're talking about peace, and it's like those little things that help us remind us why we're doing this right now, where our focus is, and keeping us focused. And I think like even just saying that, like maybe these things are cliche, but some of those cliches really remind us who Jesus is. And it's, I don't know, that's kind of a tangent, and maybe that's not important, but it's just how do we remember what is important and what's not. And I think actually what you were just saying about how we are never perfect, and it's really Jesus who intervenes on our behalf. Like I think if we look at tradition, it's like we've really been taught we have to be perfect. We have to be these perfect people. But this isn't who Jesus is.
I think you can speak to the reality like, oh, I'm thankful that I have salvation through our connection to God through relationship with Jesus. And I'm not good enough, and I'm a failure.
Yeah.
And God is pretty disappointed in me. And yes, my salvation is not by what I do, but it obviously is by what I do. So if we have to build, we have to be intentional in the processes, the perspectives that we have. And one thing that we can really do to build true perspective is to let's really realize how Jesus came.
Yeah.
And hopefully that builds some deeper perspective that he's intentionally building the bridge again to us in the connect with God. Can't do it. I can't do it.
No.
Got an abbreviated Rich's wrap up today.
It's good.
Wow.
Super abbreviated.
I feel like everyone on here has heard me say this so many times, but this is that we talk so much about God making a relationship available to humanity through all the Old Testament, and then we talk about that moment, that ultimate relationship availability, and that's what we're celebrating. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking through, and talking through availability and humility and all those things of Christ is important. And I like the teaching parts of this season. It's the extraneous stuff that is not there. But I think that looking at that, the fold, to me, it's not the exact fold of our canon of Bible, because that's in Psalm someplace, but it's the It's the middle. It's the nose of the cat. It's the middle of the space where everything comes together from one side and then goes out to the other side. It's important.
Nose of the cat.
Nose of the cat.
Nose of the cat.
It's like hair of the dog, except for Jesus.
I won't say it. We'll see you.
See you.
We'll see you next week. We'll continue on with Christmas, and everyone's just leaving, so we're just gonna make it awkward for a second. Rachel and I.
Why did?